This is the book of Hosea, chapter 1, verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God. Hosea chapter 1, verse 10. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodesh. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so Brother Aharon coming back at you with another lesson, Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, the elect of the nation of Israel. All right, now, the elect of the nation of Israel are going to come from all 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Okay, the true Hebrew biblical Israelites, the true Hebrews. All right, now we're in the days, pretty much the last days, the last end times, as they say, all right, or as is written in the scriptures. Okay, and in the last days, the Lord prophesied that he will deliver his children and bring us from captivity. All right, because all the way up till the Messiah's return, all right, the true children of Israel are going to be spread throughout the four corners of the earth under captivity. All right, and the last captivity, all right, that we were supposed to be under will be under the feet of the Edomites. Okay, now when you go into who's ruling the world right now, is something that's become over the past couple of years has become a subject that they're trying to push into the corner or try to group up as anti-Semitism. All right, which is completely false and fraudulent. All right, it's just another tactic, all right, that they're trying to use to hide, all right, the truth, to try to hide who they really truly are. All right, but that's all dead and gone. All right, because at this point, people are starving for the truth. Okay, they don't want to hear about the propaganda. They don't want to hear about the falsehoods, the lies, the deception. Okay, because through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, these devils are being exposed. Okay, let's get that real quick in 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter. All right, there's the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 says, Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, shewing himself that he is God. Okay, and who are the only people on this earth who actually have that type of so-called God complex? All right, it's a so-called white race. Okay, when you look at all the people that so-called have power in this world, you can't name one so-called black man in there. Okay, they're all so-called white people, and if you trace their lineages, they go back to so-called G's. All right, J's, so-called. Okay, now today we're gonna go into a little bit of more of the exposing. All right, bringing out the truth. All right, because now you got this whole Palestinian-Israeli conflict, all right, going on over there, which has been going on for years. All right, even prior to 1948. Okay, prior to 1948, they've been trying to push for these people to take that land, going all the way back to 1915. Okay, when they started pushing in the newspapers and in the media this idea of 6 million Jews who were being persecuted, and they needed a place to stay, and everybody had to, help them out, and that type of BS. Okay, so this is propaganda that's been going on for years. All right, but now, being that we are in the last days, the Lord is exposing them for the fraudulent bitches that they really are. Okay, and we don't fear them. All right, because the Lord told us. All right, let's get this real quick. In the book of Ecclesiasticus, all right, chapter 12 and verse 10, it says, Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Okay, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Right, and that's how do we do that? By bringing out this truth. Okay, because one thing I've realized is that whenever these devils come around, they always come around in the spirit of peace, and it's almost like they're going about their way, and then something just pulls them back, and then they come in, and it's like, hey, what do you guys teach in here? Oh, this is interesting. Can I interview you? I've got a few questions for you. That type of shit. Like those two Israeli women pulled on the elder brother Manad Zagba. Okay, that's devil tactics 101, diversion tactics 101 right there. All right, Lord willing, we're gonna go into all that, but maybe in a separate topic or in a separate video lesson. All right, but they pulled the tried and true tactic of being a snake. Okay, they come in with the high pitched energy of I'm here just to ask questions and interview you, and the next thing you know, they try inserting certain things in there to make it seem like you saying it. So what you're saying is that's whenever somebody starts talking like that, you just dismiss the conversation because they here to set you up. So let me get this straight. What you're really trying to say is no, bitch. let's address what I just said and answer these questions, damn it. All right, so let's get a little bit more into their history. All right, a little bit of these so-called Israelis, who they claim to be. Let's find out who they really are. All right, and why this topic, whenever it's brought up, is deemed hate speech or anti-Semitism. Why isn't it going? Why don't we sit down and actually have this conversation? You see, that because clearly there's a controversy here. The 12 tribes of Israel have woken up. The true sons of God have woken up, and they're saying, hold on, there's a huge problem here. Because we have people who have invaded our land, stole our identity, and told the world that they are God's people. But when we trace back their history, their culture, their lineage, their so-called religion, it ties in nothing. It has nothing to do with the Holy Bible. Okay? It has nothing to do with the Holy Bible. As a matter of fact, we're going to get into it. A little bit of history of what is known as the so-called Jews. Okay? When the Khazars in the 1st century BC invaded Eastern Europe, their mother tongue was an Asiatic language, referred to in the Jewish Encyclopedia as the Khazar languages. Okay. It says they were primitive Asiatic dialects without any alphabet or any written form, right? And the scriptures tell you in the book of Job. Let's see if we can get that real quick. All right, again, this is the Lord exposing you devils. Okay. There's the book of Job, chapter 30, verse 1. It says, but now they that are younger than I have me, what? Have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Why? Because of how uncivilized, all right, these people are. Okay, now you can see it. They're very bloodthirsty people. Okay, their history, all right, runs deep. Okay, but they've done such a great job hiding it from people for hundreds of years. And now that it's coming out to light, they're trying to demonize anyone who's going to be telling the truth about who they really are and what their true agendas really are. Okay, it says, yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished? For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness, in former time desolate and waste. Okay, that's Esau for you, man. All right, that's his name right there. Wasted away is he. Okay, son of perdition. Perdition means what? Destruction. Okay, look what's going on in the line of Palestine right now. What's going on over there? I saw a video where you see the before and after pictures, man. It's like a wasteland, legit, dead ass wasteland, bro. Buildings broken, burnt down. It's like you go from color, life, to death and destruction and darkness within days. Thousands of people just wiped out, just like that. And you dare to speak about that or question that? They say, oh, you're siding with the Palestinians, you're siding with Hamas, you're doing this. No. That's not what it is. It's people asking and questioning your morals. If you're God's chosen people, why are you even at war in the first place? Huh? What's going on? If you're God's chosen people, we should be at the end. We should be in the kingdom of heaven. There should be no war. Right? So what's going on? It's just not adding up. That's what's going on. Right? It says, for want and famine, we read that, verse 4, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. Okay? To dwell in the clefts of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Okay? Hence you have the phrase or the name Caucasian. All right, which means what? A cave dweller, or one who dwelt in the Caucasus Mountains, all right, in South Russia, Georgia, between the Black and Caspian Sea. All right. I love saying that because it burns them. It burns them a lot. Right. So let's keep going. Right. Let's go back to the reading. It says, these people, these Jays, right? Well, modern Jewry, which is Edom, right? They were primitive Asiatic dialects without any alphabet or any written form. When King, which their kings they call Kagan, all right, Kagan Bullen, was converted in the 7th century. You see, converted, right? He decreed that the Hebrew characters he saw in the Talmud and other Hebrew documents was thereupon to become the alphabet for the Khazar language. The Hebrew characters were adopted to be the phonetics of the spoken Khazar language. The Khazars adopted the characters of the so-called Hebrew language in order to provide a means for providing a written record of their speech. The adoption of the Hebrew characters had no racial, political, or religious implication. Now, what alphabet are we talking about? They're not talking about the ancient Hebrew characters. Okay, they're talking about the Assyrian characters, which in all reality, Jake, who was under the Assyrian captivity, came all the way out here to the Americas. After the Assyrian captivity, it tells you that in second Ezra, the 13th chapter. Okay, that the Lord guided the 10 lost tribes, right? The 10 tribes, he guided them all the way out here, all right, over to the Americas. Okay, a new land, all right, Arsareth, all right. But the southern kingdom, which was Judah, Benjamin, Levi, they stayed in Israel. Okay, and when you fast forward all the way to 70 AD, during the Roman persecution, all right, under Vespasian and his son Titus, okay, that's when we fled. Okay, that's where you get the account of Masada, okay, which our Lord prophesied that. He said, when you see Jerusalem be compassed, all right, with soldiers, okay, run to the hills, don't return. If you're on top of the roof, don't come down, just be out of here, and that's what happened. You had Jake flee up into the mountains. They ended up in Masada. All right, they put up a fight for a while, but ultimately the Romans, their soldiers were too strong, and ended up coming in hot, and Jake got to the point where, when you go into the history, all right, they had food and everything, and they basically off themselves, jumped off the cliff, all right, to make a statement that, it wasn't food or starvation that killed us, but it was the simple will not to live under captivity under the Romans. They'll much rather be free, or they'll much rather die than to be under captivity under these devils. So that's why they left the food back there. Okay, to make a statement to show that, hey, it wasn't because we starved out or none of that. No, it's because we don't want to be under your subjection. So we out of here. All right. And that's the spirit, So continue, it says, the Western European uncivilized nations, which had no alphabet for their spoken language, adopted the alphabet of the Latin language under comparable circumstances. Right, with the invasion of Western Europe by the Romans, the civilization and the culture of the Romans was introduced into these uncivilized areas, because Latin was the spoken language of the Roman Empire. Okay, so continue, it says, thus the Latin alphabet was adopted for the language of the French, Spanish, English, Swedish, and many other Western European languages. These languages were completely foreign to each other, yet they all used the same alphabet. The Romans brought their alphabet with their culture to their uncivilized nations, exactly like the rabbis brought the Hebrew alphabets from Babylonia to the Khazars when they introduced writing to them in the form of the Talmud's alphabets. Okay, now remember, it says Babylonia. Why? Because we were under captivity under the Babylonians. Okay, Southern Kingdom was. All right. It says, since the conquest of the Khazars by the Russians and the disappearance of the Khazar kingdom, the language of the Khazars is known as Yiddish. Okay. For about 6 centuries, the so-called or self-styled Jays of Eastern Europe have referred to themselves while still resident in their native Eastern European countries as Yiddish by nationality. See? So you call yourself Jays today, but you got to go back to your true nationality. Okay, we can trace it back, and that's why you need to come around, right? Rather than come around and ask us stupid ass questions, you need to come around, grab a notebook, sit down, and we could teach you a few things. Okay, we can go into the history, we can go into the scriptures, the prophecies, right? Break it down to you so you can learn a few things, because clearly your leaders have deceived you. Okay? You don't go into the Torah like you claim to be. Oh, well, it's in the Torah. No, it's not. No, it's not. You guys don't even read the Torah. You read the Talmud. Okay? So we don't want to hear that shit. Okay, because there's so many questions that we could rise up. If you do read the Torah, why the hell do you have the biggest LGBTQ community parade in your land, Tel Aviv, every year? Does not the Torah tell you that the Lord despises that type of shit? So if you're really the true people, why the hell are you admitting and accepting that type of lifestyle over there? Why don't you denounce that? No, you promote that shit. You claim that anyone who doesn't stand with that type of shit should be what? Should be X'd out. No. You gonna be X'd out. Okay? The word is Xing you out. And when the word himself comes back, he's gonna X you devils all the way out. Okay? So continuing, because peace will come on the earth as soon as you devils get taken out of place, man. All right? Because your whole life, your whole existence has been all about destruction, pain, suffering, death. All right? Lies. It says the Romans brought their alphabets. Okay, we read that. Since the conquest of the Khazars by the Russians and the disappearance of the Khazar kingdom, the language of the Khazars is known as Yiddish. For about 6 centuries, the so-called self-styled Jays referred to themselves, right? Let's read that again. For about 6 centuries, the so-called or self-styled Jays of Eastern Europe have referred to themselves while still resident in their native Eastern European countries as Yiddish by nationality. They identified themselves as Yiddish rather than Russian, Polish, Galician, Lithuanian, Romanian, Hungarian, or by the nation of which they were citizens. Okay? They also referred to the common language they spoke as Yiddish. It says there are today in New York City, as you know, many Yiddish newspapers, Yiddish theaters, many other cultural organizations of so-called or self-styled Jays from Eastern Europe, which are identified publicly by the word Yiddish in their title. Before it became known as the Yiddish language, the mother tongue of the Khazars added many words to its limited ancient vocabulary as necessity required. These words were acquired from the languages of its neighboring nations with whom they had political, social, or economic relations. Languages of all nations add to their vocabularies in the same way. The Khazars adapted words of their requirements from the German, the Slavonic, and the Baltic languages. The Khazars adopted a great number of words from the German language. The Germans had a much more advanced civilization than their Khazar neighbors, and the Khazars sent their children to German schools and universities. Why? Because the Germans were at the top. All right, when you look at the sons of Edom, okay, Taman, known as the Temanites, all right, are known as the Germans. They are, when you talk about brilliance, they got it, okay? The Germans are German engineering is what they call it, all right? So continuing, they're basically the brains of the nation of Esau, Edom, okay? The think tanks, so-called, right? It says the Khazars, or the Germans, had a much more advanced civilization. Okay, we read that. It says the Yiddish language is not a German dialect. Many people are led to believe so because Yiddish has borrowed so many words from the German language. If Yiddish is a German dialect acquired from the Germans, then what language did the Khazars speak from the 1,000 years they existed in Eastern Europe before they acquired culture from the Germans? The Khazars must have spoken some language when they invaded Eastern Europe. Well, let's read what kind of language they were speaking according to the scriptures. All right, Job chapter 30, Continuing verse 6, it says, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys and caves of the earth and the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. Okay, so we're reading a little history of what you people call the so-called Jays today. Those who claim to be God's chosen people. Now how? Well, we're exposing it. But clearly, they're not God's chosen people. They will never be God's chosen people. You don't get to convert into a religion and then claim to be the people. That doesn't work that way. Okay? And you're being exposed because the true sons of God have arisen, have woken. Okay? So continuing, it says, man, these devils. Salaki, 1 second. Is this fucking asshole serious? All right. Continuing, it says, the Khazars must have spoken some language when they invaded Eastern Europe. What was that language? When did they discard it? How did the entire Khazar population discard one language and adopt another all of a sudden? The idea is too absurd to discuss. Yiddish is the modern name for the ancient mother tongue of the Khazars, with added German, Slavonic, and Baltic adopted and adapted numerous words. Now let's get this point right here. It says Yiddish must not be confused with Hebrew because they both use the same characters as their alphabets. There is not one word of Yiddish in ancient Hebrew, nor is there one word of ancient Hebrew in Yiddish. That's obvious. As I stated before, they are as totally different as Swedish and Spanish. They're two different languages which both likewise use the same Latin characters for their alphabets. The Yiddish language is the cultural common denominator for all the so-called or self-styled Jays in or from Eastern Europe. To the so-called or self-styled Jays in or from Eastern Europe, Yiddish serves them like the English language serves the populations of the 48 states of the United States. Their cultural common denominator without the 48 states is the English language. I'm doing something. Shut up. Sit down. Sit. It says, their cultural common denominator throughout the 48 states is the English language, or wherever they may immigrate and resettle. The English language is the tie which binds them to each other. It is the same with the Yiddish language and so-called or self-styled Jays throughout the world. Yiddish serves another very useful purpose for so-called or self-styled Jays throughout the world. They possess in Yiddish what no other national, racial, or religious group can claim. Approximately 90% of the world's so-called or self-styled Jays living in 42 different countries of the world today are either immigrants from Eastern Europe. See? So how do you claim to be God's people if you're just immigrants? You migrated to the land. And you made it a state in 1948 under the Balfour Declaration. 1948? It hasn't even been a century. And we're here. It says, or their parents immigrated from Eastern Europe. Yiddish is a language common to all of them as their first or second language according to where they were born. It is an international language to them. Regardless of what country in the world they may settle in, they will always find co-religionists or religionists who also speak Yiddish. Remember, it's a religion. Okay? Talmudism is a religion. It's not a culture. It's not a nationality. You can't come from the nation of Talmud. No. Okay? You can't come from the nation of Judaism. No. Okay? That's just a religion that they incorporated. Okay? Really, their religion is Talmud, but they just said, oh, we're gonna just use Judaism as the name of it. You know, it's all about deception. Okay? Changing words, changing identity, just to make it much more easier for people to assimilate with. All right? And that's all part of the deception. Okay? Yiddish is the modern language of a nation which has lost its existence as a nation. Read that again. Yiddish is the modern language of a nation which has lost its existence as a nation. Yiddish never had a religious implication, although using Hebrew characters for its alphabet. It must not be confused with words like Jewish, which is very much. All right, which it is very much. All right, so a lot of people confuse Yiddish with Jewish. Okay, so I just want to bring that out, just a little information, and Lord willing, we're gonna go more into it. I have a whole lot lined up, but I want to see how the algorithm takes this, and we'll see how it goes. But there's a lot more to bring out on these devils. Okay, these false accusers, these slanderers. Okay, they don't want to deal with the facts. Okay, they don't want to deal with the facts. But guess what? Your form of worship, okay, your Talmudic pagan nation form of worship, idolatrous worship, okay, wasn't until the 7th century, where King Bullen, all right, he was like, this is too much. We got to change this thing up, and they got they decided, they weren't going to go with Christianity or Islam. All right, they selected, Judaism, okay, or they use the term Judaism, all right, to cover up what they practice, which is Talmudism. Okay, so they don't go into the Torah like they say they do. The Day of Atonement comes, and we're supposed to afflict ourselves. These devils be throwing up vows. They throw up vows, something known as the Kol Nidre. You know what I'm saying? Which is basically a vow that they make, or they take a vow to disannul all vows that they're going to take throughout the year until the next Day of Atonement comes, which they call Yom Kippur. This is all bullshit. Okay, all bullshit. But guess what? The Lord is exposing you. Okay, and we're dealing with just the facts. Because why? Facts ain't hate, bitch. All right. So let's get one more precept, then we're gonna close it out. All right, because you devils are being exposed, and we're gonna continue to expose you. All right. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, and verse 12. It says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" And how did they weaken the nations? By taking all the power and deceiving the people. Okay, which really it's prophecy. All right, the Lord said after 1,000 years, the devil's going to be loosed for a short season. And what's he going to do? He's going to go out there. He's going to deceive the nations. Okay, they've deceived the nations by their political power. Okay, their so-called religious controls. All right, their military, financial. Okay. The media, all right, you name it, they have power over all these different things. And that power that they've accumulated is what they use as their driving forces, their so-called agencies, all right, to manipulate the populations of the world. But see, we're at the point where the world's populations are all waking up. Right? Scriptures tell you, the Lord told us that this gospel shall be preached throughout the whole entire world, and then the end shall come. All right, how does the end come? The end comes when people start to wake up to the truth. Okay, they start to realize the truth, because the truth is already going out. People are just going to have to realize it, and the realization is kicking in. All right, that's why you see all the stuff that's going on around the world, and now they got to tie it in and say, oh, this is hate speech, and anybody who we hear or see talking against us, we're going to have to come see you. And now we have to get digital IDs to match your online profile and all this extra shit. That's just a desperate attempt to silence the truth. But guess what? It's not going to work. Okay, the more you try to silence the truth, the more resistance you're going to face. Okay, because this is already, the story's already been told. You devils are done. Okay, so let's read that again. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And lately, I think a couple of days ago, I believe it was SpaceX. They launched another satellite, another rocket or whatever they launched. And they said they wanted to go past the firmament. That shit went all the way up and fucking exploded. Just like that. And that's how you devils are going to be destroyed. Okay, you're going to see your kingdom, your dreams, your aspirations. all crumble within 1 hour. When the Lord comes back, your everything is done, is finished within 1 hour, all up in smoke, just like that. Okay? Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit, that they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house. But thou art cast out as thy grave, like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that were slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Okay? So that's what you devils are about to face. This is the reality. And guess what? It's a very short time from now till you face that reality. Very short time. Anyway, I'm going to leave it off there. Lord willing, you were edified. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah Kodash, the water Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And until next time, Shalom.